World Series.
It still echoes from every corner of this ball. Perhaps the greatest fall classic ever. The Boston Red Sox versus the Cincinnati Reds. Hello, everyone. I'm Dick Stockton. I covered the Red Sox that season and was also part of the network broadcast for that World Series. For the next hour, we'll relive some of the great moments and hear from some of the key players of that 75 series. Bench, Morgan, Rose of the Big Red Machine, Lynn, Fisk, and Lee from the Red Sox. It was a series that propelled baseball to new heights in popularity, and though there have been many dramatic moments in the Fall Classic, no other World Series captured the imagination of the country the way that one did. So when we return, we'll take a look back at the 1975 World Series, a true Fall Classic. Game 1 of the 1975 World Series was at Boston's Fenway Park. The players had sized each other up for the battle.
At that particular time, I thought we had a better ball club. But we didn't play the World Series we had Jimmy Rice on the injured list with a broken wrist. Pitching staff was basically about the same. I don't think there's much difference.
I never thought they had the pitchers that would dominate us. Louis Tiant was not an overpowering pitcher. We knew Reggie Cleveland. We knew Bill Lee. None of those guys could really throw the ball by us. So it was a matter of what we would do in Fenway Park and what the monster supposedly would do, if anything.
There it is, the green monster everyone talks about, made of concrete and tin, 37 feet high, a 23-foot screen above that. The nuances of Fenway were probably of little concern to Red starter Don Gullett, a hard-throwing country boy from Kentucky. But for Cuban-born Luis Tiant, Fenway was home away from home, especially for this game. Tiant was in many ways the Red Sox heart and soul, yet it was Luis that was inspired by the presence of his father. After not seeing his son in 15 years, the elder Tiant was granted permission to leave Cuba to watch him pitch in the World Series. For Luis, it was indeed very special.
He took so much care of his father. He loved his father so much. He bought his father suits and shoes and dressed him and was very proud of his father. You could see his dad being very proud of Louis. And coming together as a father and son with all the love that they had for each other, all the respect and everything, was probably it was just one of the most important things in my life that I could see as a father and son relationship.
Luis hadn't hit in years, but showed in the 7th that he could still swing like Pop taught him.
And a base hit. Get him a slow curve, and Louis gets a base hit.
They love him here, don't they?
Yet Luis's father wouldn't admit to teaching him how to run the bases.
Here's the bunt by Evans, the sacrifice, and the throw to second. He's in the dirt, in the center field. Tiant will hold at second.
Oh, he's something.
It was the 7th inning with the game still a scoreless tie. Tiant moved to third on a Doyle single, and up stepped Carl Yastrzemski.
Drive, right field, coming on Griffey. It's a hit. Tiant coming in. Here comes the throw, cut off by Perez.
Oh, Johnny wanted to go through. He missed the plate. I didn't see him touch the plate. He missed the plate and went back and touched it.
He forgot what the bases were supposed to be for. You know, you got to touch the bases when you get a hit. And he was, I'm telling you, he was comical. He was something. Missed the base, come back and tried to tag it. He was something.
So with a 6-0 lead, Luis kept the Reds off balance with his twisting, turning delivery. The style of El Tiante became the stuff of literature. Roger Angell.
I had begun to take notes during my recent observations of the Cuban Garrick. And now, as he set down the Reds with only minimal interruptions, I arrived at some tentative codifications. The basic Tiant repertoire seems to include call the osteopath. In mid-pitch, the man suffers an agonizing seizure in the central cervical region, which he attempts to fight off with a sharp backward twist of the head. The runaway taxi. Before the pivot, he sees a vehicle bearing down on him at top speed and pulls back his entire upper body just in time to avoid a nasty accident. Falling off the fence. An attack of vertigo nearly causes him to topple over backward on the mound.
I would want to face Louis every day. I mean, he doesn't overpower you. You felt like you should hit him. And that was the frustrating thing. I couldn't believe that we lost to Louis Tiant. And then it was just, they were just overcome. I mean, they were totally pumped for it. The Boston fans were pumped for it. And I was very disappointed that we came out of there with a loss.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Crowd on its feet here at Fenway on an overcast, raw day. And Petrocelli gloves it. Throw in time. And the Red Sox have drawn first blood in the 1975 World Series. Louis Tiant, with the help of a 6-run seventh, spins a 5-hit shutout to give the Sox the victory.
Your father and mother from Cuba have come a long way, and they have seen you pitch some marvelous ball games, and they must be extremely happy, especially your dad.
Yes, he's right. He's happy, you know. The game of pitching in Oakland, and now this game, I believe he had to be happy, more than I am right now, really.
We were ecstatic after the game, saying, and it made us think. He said, you know, we got a pretty good team, too. We know they got a great team, but so do we. You know, we're here, and we won the pennant, went on to the playoffs and beat a good Oakland team, and now we're here. And so, you know, maybe we can win this thing. So it really gave us a lot of confidence.
In Game 2, the Red Sox showed confidence in 17-game winner Bill Lee. Lee hadn't pitched in the playoffs against Oakland, but against the Reds, he started out fine as the Red Sox defense backed him up.
And that's going to be taken by Cooper. Throws over to Burleson, gets the out. There he goes. Look at here. He's got it. Out. Out. Got him again. Denny Doyle making the tag. To center field, Lynn coming on. He's got it. Fine play by Fred Lynn. The Red Sox clung to a 2-1 lead in the 7th. That's when a 27-minute rain delay hit. And while the sky opened up, so did a Cincinnati Red with a revealing piece of information concerning Bill Lee's pitching strategy.
Right now he's turning the ball over away from us and changing speeds as he's using everything he has, and of course the wind coming in today. He's pitching a very
Johnny Bench had been on national TV, had been interviewed on national TV, and he told everybody in the audience, all the way to Seoul, South Korea, that I was pitching him away and he was going to hit the ball to right field. And not one person told me that that was on the interview. And if I had known he was going to do that, I would have thrown him breaking balls in all day long, and we would have won the 2nd game of the World Series.
So here we go to the top of the 9th. The Red Sox leading the Reds 2-1 as Bill Lee will face Bench. Lee has pitched a 4-hitter. Base hit right field, maybe more than one. Evans tracks it down. Bench will take 2. Double. Tying run at second base, nobody out.
He had set his own pattern. That's the great thing about facing a pitcher for the 3rd or 4th time in a game, that you pretty well have a pattern with him. He'd been going the other way. We've been trying to do so many things. And, I mean, there was a lot of hits in that World Series. I think that was just as important hit as there was in the World Series.
So with the tying run on base in the 9th, Lee was given the hook. Bench had moved to third base on a ground out. Then with 2 men down, Dave Concepcion battled reliever Dick Drago.
That may be trouble. Doyle can't make the play, and it's all tied up. Infield hit by Dave Concepcion. Bench scores, and the Reds have tied it in the 9th.
After a stolen base by Concepcion, the batter was Ken Griffey.
Well hit to left center, it's in there. A run will score, it goes to the wall. Picked up by Lynn, double. And it's Reds 3, Red Sox 2. Ken Griffey with 2 strikes on him, behind on the count, 1-2. Picked on the fastball and found the alley with a clutch double. And the Reds have gone ahead for the first time in the series.
The Reds were a strike away from going down 2-0. But now the series was even at 1 game apiece.
Welcome to Game 3 of the 1975 World Series. The American League champs, the Boston Red Sox, versus the National League champs, the Cincinnati Reds. Earlier today, this look at the Ohio River and Riverfront Stadium. The temperature this afternoon, 88 degrees. It is 81 tonight. Potential base stealers here tonight are going to have an edge over the wet grass that we had in Boston on Sunday.
In the 4th, Tony Perez, who had 1 stolen base the whole year, took a chance with 2 outs.
There goes a runner. The throw down. And he's out. Base. Perez steals.
was unusual. Nobody expected it. You know, nobody really watched him. He got a tremendous jump and just went ahead. That's one of those sneaky things. Carlton didn't have a chance because the pitcher didn't give him a chance. If Carlton would have had any chance, he'd have thrown him out.
And they're roaring here. They were the unlikely sight of Tony Perez stealing second. 2 down. That wakes the Red fans up. And Bench, it's a ride deep to left. Going, gone.
And you've got to wonder how much Wise's concentration was broken by the surprise steal from Tony Perez.
The very next inning, the Reds connected on back-to-back home runs. Cesar Geronimo's blast followed Dave Concepcion's to give Cincinnati a 5-1 lead. The Reds appeared confident of victory, but in this series, the unexpected was the thing to expect. The Sox cut the lead to 2 after a Bernie Carbo pinch hit homer. In the 9th, they threatened again. Sparky called upon Rawley Eastwick with 1 out and 1 on, and 23-year-old Dwight Dewey Evans, the batter.
Here's a fly ball hit into left field. Foster back on the warning track, and he will not get it. It's a home run in a tie ball game. Rawley Eastwick has just given up a game-tying 9th-inning home run to Dwight Evans. As the Red Sox dugout erupts, they have tied it up at 5-all.
And we've just had an all-time World Series record tied. 6 home runs, 3 by each team tonight. The Red Sox made quite a comeback.
In the 10th inning, after a Cesar Geronimo single, Ed Armbruster was called upon to pinch hit for Rawley Eastwick in an obvious bunt situation. Well, the play that ensued would make Ed Armbruster an infamous culprit in Red Sox history. It was a play that likely changed the face of the ball game.
Well, the Red Sox know this man's a good bunter. Throw to second. High. By Carlton Fisk over to third. Safe. We are going to have that at second. We're going to have an argument. They may reverse this decision. Red Sox are arguing. Interference in the plate.
The runner was all over the catcher. And the man ran into him in the thing. He was interfering, and you went to call it. You tell me what you were calling, and what he did.
The rules of baseball are written in a book. And the rule says that when a catcher steps into fair territory, he becomes an infielder. A batter, base runner, bunter cannot touch a defensive player before he has had his chance to field the ball.
Umpire wasn't 100%, he was 1,000,000% right. I mean, if you see the play, when contact was made before the ball ever came down. The ball was still in the air when contact was made. When the ball came down to Carlton, nobody ever touches him. He just throws the ball away, but nobody ever touched Carlton Fisk during the time when he threw the ball.
The fact that there was contact made, whether it was incidental or not, the fact that there was contact just is determines it was interference.
I mean, but Eddie was trying to get out of his way. I mean, what can you do? I mean, you can't help but you're here. I mean, he tried every way to get out of his way, I thought, on the replay I saw.
Yeah, we were all upset. I mean, we felt like we got jobbed there pretty good.
We went in the clubhouse. Everybody was PO'd. I'm telling you, we were screaming in the clubhouse after the game. And even thinking of talking to the commissioner and reviewing the play again. I think about it now, I was laughing. I wasn't laughing then.
But I can tell you something that was never said, and I never have said it. I, for one split second out there arguing with those umpires, it passed my mind to go to the commissioner, and I said, no, don't you do that. Don't do anything like that. This thing is over and done with, and it's not going to change, and let's get on with the game.
Geronimo moved to third on the play, Armbruster to second. Pete Rose was given an intentional pass, and Joe Morgan came to the plate with 1 out. A fly ball would likely do the trick.
Morgan wins the ball game. That's it. They get credit for only 1 run batted in. And the Reds win it 6-5. Joe Morgan getting credit for a single and a run batted in. Well, he drove in 2 runs tonight. And what a game we had, and we'll have controversy after this one.
Game 3 of the 1975 World Series will be remembered for that play at the plate involving Cincinnati Reds pinch hitter Ed Armbruster. To this day, veteran umpire Larry Barnett considers it too hot an issue to even talk about. Red Sox fans don't soon forget. But Game 3 also holds quite a different memory for one Reds fan who had tickets but couldn't attend. You might say he was torn between his love of the game and a blessed event.
On about 5 o'clock of the evening of October the 14th, we're getting ready to come to the game, and my wife went into labor, and she started having the contractions. I tried to talk her out of it, but she was insistent that it was time to go to the hospital. So we came over to Good Samaritan Hospital here, and they had taken her in, and I was trying to pick up the game, and the first 3 innings were absolutely useless to me. Static and interference every time somebody turned on a machine at the hospital. So I finally said, well, I'm going to go out to the car. So I had told a gentleman sitting in the waiting room that I was going to go out and listen to the game in the car for a while, but apparently his wife had the child shortly after I left, so nobody knew where I was. Just as I got up there, Tony stole second base, and everybody was laughing about it on the radio. They were calling it the Cuban Comet. And then shortly after that, Bench hit the home run, and I lost total track of time. I mean, I was counting time by innings, not by hours. And next thing I know, it's the 8th or 9th inning. I'm still sitting in the car. It's been an hour and a half, 2 hours. And a security guard comes up and points at me and says, "Are you Chris Wilder?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "We've been hunting for you for an hour and a half. Because your wife had the baby about an hour and 45 minutes ago. They really looking for you. Come inside. We got people searching all over the hospital." The original name that I had picked out for him was Donald. And of course, Don Gullett at the time was my favorite pitcher. But my wife didn't like Donald, so I talked her into naming him supposedly after a friend of ours whose name was Jack, but Jack Billingham was my second favorite pitcher, so I kind of got what I wanted anyway.
Game 4 in Cincinnati featured the valiant pitching of a dauntless Luis Tiant, who battled Cincinnati's fearsome lineup with his every ounce of savvy. Luis sure needed all the support his family could give as the Reds zeroed in.
Way back there, right center field, slow curveball, and it drops to the extra base. Morgan scores easily. Bench has a double.
We by then had figured out all that stuff, all the turns and all the different pitches and all that. First game, we didn't figure out nothing, but by then we had figured him out.
Tiant had given up 4 runs in the game, yet like the true warrior he was, Luis battled his way to the 9th, clinging to a 1-run lead. As Ken Griffey stepped to the plate with the tying run on second, the Red Sox convened on the mound.
I wasn't really checking on Louis because I knew Louis felt okay. I can tell by watching him that he was okay. And 163 pitches for Luis Tiant is different than a lot of people. I don't recommend 163 pitches for really anybody, but in a World Series time, I knew Louis wasn't going to hurt himself.
What do you guys think? I got a left-hander down here, Louis. Can you get him? All right. You get right after them. That ball comes back to you. Make sure one out there. And get after him good. Come on.
I think that if there was confidence in our bullpen to bring in a better person for the job, I think it probably would have been done.
A lot of guys pitch in the 8th and 9th inning, and they turn sideways to look for the manager for help for that reliever. He was one of the few guys that I knew that he didn't need any help. He knew how to finish the game off.
Tiant got outs from both Griffey and Joe Morgan to win the game 5-4 and even the series at 2 games apiece. It was Tiant's second win and truly one of the most inspiring Fall Classic pitching performances ever. In Game 5, Don Gullett was simply overpowering.
Gullett really bringing it tonight.
He has now retired 10, 11, 12 in a row.
Certainly the second time around against Boston, I felt much more comfortable. Not only the fact of being at home at Riverfront Stadium, but the fact that I had faced those guys and gotten the feel of what I could do with my stuff against them, and I was more comfortable with that.
When Tony Perez came up in the 4th, Boston led 1-0, and Tony had gone 0 for 15 for the series.
I kept telling him, see if you can go hitless again today and break a series record. I said Hodges was 0 for 20. And I said, see if you can continue to go and break a record. You can ask Tony. I told him, I was having fun with him, just kidding him about getting no hits.
He hits a blast in the deep left center. That's gone. Way back.
That Perez homer was the first of 5 runs the Reds scored off starter Reggie Cleveland as they won the game handily 6-2. The Reds needed just one more win to take the series, but much drama was yet to unfold. In games, the Cincinnati Reds led the series 3-2 as the series moved back to Boston. That's when most of the action involved the ground crew. A nor'easter kept a rainstorm swirling around New England, postponing Game 6 for 4 days. The best way for me to describe it would be utter frustration. Everything seemed suspended in time. The feeling was, let's just get this thing over with. Each day seemed like 2, and the players themselves were beginning to get a little on edge.
Well, we were just in a hotel, you know. I would imagine it didn't frustrate the guys in Boston as much as it did us because they're in their homes or they're in their apartments or anything. But when you're in, especially in the World Series, there wasn't a whole lot for us to do in the Boston area. I mean, yes, it's a beautiful town. There's things to do, but when it's raining and you're in a hotel room, there's not a whole lot to do but just sit around. It got pretty boring.
That was miserable. That was really miserable. I think it was probably tougher on us than it was them. You know, they're staying at a hotel downtown, and you know they have things to do. We were at home, and when you're at home, contrary to what people think, you have more time to think about things than you do when you're on the road. And you really don't go out much when you're at home. You just kind of rest. And God, I was like a caged animal. I mean, I said, let's go. Come on, do something. Make a decision. Play the game. I don't care if it's snowing. Let's play.
We played our card games. We played our bridge. We played hearts. We played gym. We play everything that you can play. We were like prisoners.
People were getting stir crazy. They had been, I think, to every fine restaurant in Boston twice for lunch and dinner. And people had reached the point where they wanted the series to get over with.
While Fenway Park was immersed in a steady downpour, the Reds were forced to find a temporary indoor practice site.
We're on a bus to go out to Tufts University, and lo and behold, the bus driver got lost. And now we're all in our uniform. And if you'd have seen the eyes on this gas station attendant when Sparky got off the bus with his number 10 uniform on and walked in and asked this guy directions to Tufts University. I mean, you'd have thought this guy was on candid camera and he knew it was candid camera. I mean, he was flabbergasted as Sparky Anderson, number 10, gets off the Cincinnati Reds bus and goes in and asks him how to get to Tufts University.
When the tarp was finally rolled away and skies cleared, what ensued was a World Series drama known as Game 6.
Game 6. Game 6. What can we say of it without seeming to diminish it by recapitulation or dull it with detail? Those of us who were there will remember it surely as long as we have any baseball memory. And those who wanted to be there and were not will be sorry always. The game went out to 62 million television viewers, a good many millions of whom missed their bedtime. 3 days of heavy rains had postponed things. The outfield grass was a lush Amazon green, but there was a clear sky at last and a welcoming moon. A giant autumn squash that rose above the right field Fenway bleachers during batting practice.
In the bottom of the first, Red starter Gary Nolan retired the first 2 batters he faced, yet soon found himself in a jam. Carl Yastrzemski singled sharply. Then Fisk, back-to-back base hits. Jack Billingham was already up in the bullpen with 2 on and a weary Fred Lynn batting.
See, I was 175, 180 pounds, and that was a lot of games we'd played or I'd played, and I felt like I didn't have any pop in my bat. I was hitting a lot of balls to the opposite field. I was kind of choking up, and I was getting my hits, but I wasn't driving the ball.
And there's a high fly ball deep to right field. Going back 50, forget it. It's gone.
I hadn't hit a ball like that in a month and a half.
And this place is rocking.
We didn't want them to jump out ahead of us and just to kind of take our crowd out of it. Boy, that got them going right there, and it gave us some momentum. I mean, we lost it kind of quickly, but at least we had some at the beginning.
With the Red Sox leading 3-0, Luis Tiant delivered to Ken Griffey with 2 on.
And a fly ball deep to center field. Lynn going way back, and he can't make the play. It's off the wall. Evans will recover, and Lynn is not up. He has been shaken up. One run comes in. Here comes Rose with the second run, and Freddie Lynn is hurt in the corner in the dead center field. And Darrell Johnson, trainer Charlie Moss, going out to center field.
Look at the crowd is just standing up. Stunned. They're all standing. A big hush over the ballpark.
I think everybody in the house thought that I was knocked out because I didn't move. But what really happened was that I hit the wall with my backside, and my back went numb. I couldn't feel anything from the waist down.
Leg's all right, huh?
I'll be okay. Sure? Yeah. I get the feeling back in my legs, and I told Darrell, you know, I'm okay, I'm going to hang in there. I almost took the crowd out of the game single-handedly, put them in and took them out.
With the score tied at 3 and 2 on, the batter, George Foster.
There he goes. Straight away center field. Lynn is going back. That ball is off the wall. One run is in. Here comes Morgan. He'll score, and the Cincinnati Reds lead 5-3. Ball hit high off the top of the wall.
The very next inning, the Reds showed their power yet again, as Cesar Geronimo belted one that stayed fair, and Cincinnati appeared to be in the driver's seat.
Home run for Geronimo.
The Reds just 6 outs away. Their last World Championship was in 1940.
Tony, I gotta believe when Tiant walks off, the picture will say it all.
No question.
Here comes Moret, and there goes Tiant.
But this is the story right here as far as the Red Sox.
Well-deserved for Louis Tiant. Tiant had given up 6 runs. However, Red Sox fans showed their admiration nonetheless. Yet the fact remained the Sox were in trouble, down 3 runs after 7 1/2. Cincinnati made a pitching change of their own, bringing in Rawley Eastwick to pitch out of a jam in the 8th. With 2 on and no outs, the batter was Dwight Evans.
Here's the payoff. Struck him out.
The next batter the Reds faced was 8th place hitter Rick Burleson, who made out number 2. Then came a pinch hitter.
When I went on the on-deck circle, man on first and second, and you had a right-handed pitcher up there with a left-handed hitter coming up, I had no intentions of even going any farther than I was. I thought Sparky Anderson at that time would go to the bullpen for a left-handed pitcher.
If we brought on the left-hander, we were going to have to face the monster and the wind blowing out to left. And I said, we're going to keep him on this side.
The umpire finally says, hey, come on, it's time to hit. And I went, he's not coming out. He's not going to change the pitcher. And then when I stepped in there, I said, I'm going to hit. I couldn't believe it.
Two-2 pitch. Just did get a piece of it to stay alive. You talk about fighting off a good pitch.
Looked like he hit that out of the catcher's glove.
He did.
The worst swing you've ever seen as a big league player.
Looked like he was a rookie league pitcher trying to take extra batting practice, or trying to take some batting practice, learn how to hit.
Worst little league swings I've ever seen taken. I mean, I don't know how he got the one he just took almost out of my glove.
Like that, and it was just like that, and he just ticked it. I mean, just ball dribbled 10 feet. And I said, oh, man.
You just say to yourself, he's got no chance.
I was shaking. I had goosebumps. I was shaking because I actually thought I struck out. I thought, well, this is over with. And I thought, wow, this was close. And it was a slider. So I didn't think John would come back with a slider. Of course, he came back with a fastball.
Deep center field, way back. We're tied up.
And as I rounded second base, I'm yelling at Pete Rose, don't you wish you were this strong? Don't you wish you were this strong? And Pete Rose is yelling at me, isn't this fun?
Chills ran up and down my spine as I was running around. And I said, we got to win this thing. I mean, maybe it's just fate.
My heart dropped all the way to my feet because I was still kind of shell-shocked from the Oakland series because I said we were the best team in '72, we didn't win. We're the best team now, maybe we won't win again. I mean, you know, it's like the Minnesota Vikings and the Denver Broncos. Because you get to the Super Bowl or you get to the World Series doesn't mean you're ever going to win one.
Garbo's magical at-bat gave the Sox a new life and tied the game at 6. Boston soon found themselves with another golden opportunity with the bases full and nobody out as Fred Lynn stepped to the plate.
Griffey and Geronimo are shallow. The left fielder, Foster, moves over to the line. He's not quite as shallow as the other two outfielders. The infield is in as well. It's all right here, Joe. Here it is. High fly ball, left field. Foster's got a shot. They're tagging up at third. Here comes the throw. It is in time. Doyle is out. Foster to bench. A double play.
Somewhere between the base, me tagging up, and going to home plate, Zimmer said he was saying, no, 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 and it spurred me to go, go, go.
When I see that there wasn't much further in that little corner down there in Fenway Park, I know that he can't score if Foster catches the ball. And when I saw him take off, I thought he was just decoying somebody. And I start screaming, no, 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 no. Well, he keeps going, and naturally he gets tagged out.
Pete Rose came up just beside himself, just all excited, yakking and talking about, this is the greatest game I've ever been involved with, the greatest game I've ever played. I played a lot of games, Carl, you know that. I played a lot of games, and this is the greatest game. Isn't this the greatest game? This is what baseball's all about. And it really was what baseball was all about, and I think at the time people had forgotten how good baseball can be.
Soon after Rose's proclamation, Joe Morgan stepped to the plate with 1 out, and everyone would get another taste of baseball at its best.
Well hit, right field, deep. Evans is going back near the wall, and oh, what a catch he made! What a catch by Dwight Evans, and it's a double play. Griffey didn't know what happened as Evans made a spectacular catch.
And I wasn't even thinking about him catching it. I was just thinking hopefully it was going to get into this, third or fourth row, and, we'd get 2 runs. And when he caught it, I mean, it was like I couldn't believe it. I saw him just throw his glove out like this, and I didn't see the ball, and I didn't see the fans jumping or fighting for the ball. So I realized that he had caught it.
That fabulous effort by Dewey kept the score deadlocked at 6. Pat Darcy, the 8th Reds pitcher used that night, was heading into his 3rd inning of work. Things just didn't bode well for Cincinnati.
When Pat Darcy came in, he was to warm up in the 12th. I just looked over the dugout and told Sparky, forget it, we're playing tomorrow. He couldn't get it. He barely could get it there in the air.
We're standing on the on-deck circle before the inning starts, and I said, Fred, I feel something good here. I'm going to hit one off the wall. I want you to drive me in. I never said anything before like that. I never said anything since like that, but I had a good feeling. I said, I'm going to hit one off the wall, drive me in. He said, that sounds good to me.
There it goes, the long drive. If it stays fair, home run.
My moment in time, I guess, more than anything. Maybe everybody gets a chance like that in some aspect of their life, some area, to have a moment be specifically theirs, and that was mine. And that was definitely a case of a small town boy makes good, small town New England boy that stays and plays for the favorite New England team and then experiences that kind of moment. I don't know if it's can be explained.
Carlton Fisk's home run put an end to what was simply a magical baseball game that holds a special place in my heart for reasons that are quite personal. I was fortunate enough to be introduced to a young intern who was working for the Boston Globe, a real Red Sox fan by the name of Leslie Visser. Some 7 years later, Leslie and I were married, and to this day, she tells people that meeting her was only the second best thing that happened to me that day. Well, that's not quite true. But I was lucky enough to be behind the microphone at 12:25 a.m. to make the call on Pudge's homer. Another sidebar to that night involves a bit of TV history when the decision was made to put a camera right there in the scoreboard. The resulting shot of Carlton Fisk waving the ball fair made its mark on the collective consciousness of millions who were watching. It's a shot that will undoubtedly outlast us all.
The Fisk shot has been gone down as being one of the great reaction shots of all time. There's a funny story about that.
Harry Coyle, he said to me, he said, you know, if Fisk hits the ball into the left field corner, you got to go with it. And I said, Harry, I said, I got a rat 2 feet from me about the size of a cat. And I said, I can only pan so far because of a beam in the way. So he says, what are we going to do? I said, Harry, maybe we ought to stay with Fisk and see what happens. He says, yeah. I mean, he says, maybe we can get something out of that. And that's the way it happened.
A lot of body English for Carlton Fisk. Watch it. How many steps does he take? 1. He waits to see it. Get over. Get over. He knew it. There it is.
When I walked past the tape truck after the game, Scotty Connell, the producer, came running out and he says, Lou, he says, did you see what you had on that thing? I said, yeah. Fisk hit the home run and he was using his hands. He says, that's changing television. He says, nobody ever had anything like that. And I said, well, I don't know. It was another shot to me, Scotty, and he says, no, it's more than that. He says, it's more than that. You're going to see what's going to happen after this.
That replay of Fisk's dramatic home run certainly made its mark. As a matter of fact, in more ways than one.
I had nothing to do, you know, with prior to the game, so I figured I'm going to put my name on the wall so that I know I was here. And I took a knife or a screwdriver and etched my name in it with the year. I don't know if it's still there or not, but I did it.
Roger Clemens has lost his best fastball.
He has not lost his best fastball, Jack.
Oh, come on, 89, 90 miles an hour tops.
95, 96, 2 weeks ago, 100 earlier this year in Detroit. He can still bring it.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
All right, wait, we can settle this real easily. Rocket, could you come in here for a second?
What's up, gang?
Jack here says you can't bring it anymore.
Oh, is that right? Can you hold that for me, please?
98. Pretty good. Pretty good. I told you there was no story.
Got it.
Thanks, Roger.
You got it, guys. Anytime.
I really thought I was going to be like the Dallas Cowboys at that time. You know, they said they can't win the big ones. You know, we lost one to Baltimore. We lost a tough series to Oakland, which is a great World Series. And here we were. There's no question we were the better team. And we end up going to lose this thing? I said, you know, it looks like I'll never win a World Series.
Sparky's worst nightmare seemed to be coming true as the Red Sox jumped ahead in the third inning of Game 7 by a score of 3-0. The Reds struggled early on as Don Gullett lasted only 4 innings. Meanwhile, the Sox held the Big Red Machine scoreless with Bill Lee on the mound, but Spaceman ran into trouble in the 6th.
He used to feast on right-handers. There's a bounding ball to short. They've got one. They turn it over. Wild throw by Doyle into the dugout. They had the double play, and Doyle threw it away into the Red Sox dugout.
Doyle was looking down at Pete Rose. He heard Pete coming.
In retrospect, that might have been the most important play of the game because it kept the inning alive for Tony Perez.
I told Sparky Anderson before they came up, with 2 men going on, I'm going to hit a home run. I was confident I'm going to hit a home run, and I think he did me a favor to throw me that pitch because I seen it before.
There's his blooper pitch. There it is. A high drive. He was waiting for that one. That one is gone over everything. Perez timed that blooper pitch and slammed it over the screen out in the Lansdowne Street, and now we have another one-run ball game.
So early in the game, Bill tricked him, you know, through the soft, slow curveball, and thought he could get him again on it.
I just really don't believe there's anybody in baseball outside of Tony Perez that could have hit that pitch. He was the one guy with all the scouting reports that they should have known, don't fool around.
When I saw the sign, I started saying, oh no.
Now I saw Perez double clutch. You know, it's boom, boom, and it's uh-oh. And as soon as he hit it, it's uh-oh. See ya.
Perez's homer cut the Red Sox lead to 1. Soon after, Lee left with a blister. Darrell Johnson then made another pitching move in the 7th. After the Reds tied it, Johnson brought in Jim Willoughby in relief of Roger Moret. Willoughby promptly bailed the Red Sox out of a bases-loaded jam. Then in the 8th, he retired the side 1-2-3. Despite Willoughby's success in retiring 4 straight, Darrell Johnson made the decision to lift him.
He had been getting hit by left-handed hitters and hit awfully hard. And I knew with those left-handers coming up, tie ball game, I didn't want him on the mound because one swing would put us out of business.
In the 9th, the Sox went with 25-year-old left-hander Jim Burton. The first batter he faced, Ken Griffey, got on with a walk. Burton retired the next 2. Then, with an anxious Fenway Park crowd sitting on pins and needles, all 4 to Pete Rose. And with runners at the corners, up stepped Joe Morgan.
I just felt like, hey, you know, this is your time and this is your at-bat and this is what you always dreamed of. I guess, you know, as a little kid, I'd walk around the streets, I'd throw rocks up and hit them. And I always said to myself, you know, this is the 7th game of the World Series winning run, and I'd hit it. You know what? I got to hit every time. So I felt like walking to the plate, I'm going to get a hit now, too. And if anybody would have bet me $1 million, I would have bet them I was going to get a base hit.
They drop. It's in for a hit. Here comes the throw to third. Rose hits the dirt. He's safe. And there goes Morgan down to second. And the Reds have the lead 4-3.
Morgan hit a slider low and away from Burton. A tough pitch. And the Red Sox fate was nearly sealed. In the bottom of the 9th, Sparky went with Will McEnany. With 2 outs, Carl Yastrzemski was at the plate as the Sox last hope.
There's a high fly ball. It should be all over. Geronimo's under it, and Cincinnati has won the World Championship, beating the Boston Red Sox 4-3. The Reds win it in Fenway Park. Some of the veterans in this team have been very frustrated. They wanted this one badly. After winning 108 times this year, setting all kinds of records, it would have been a deep disappointment for them not to win.
For the 115th time this season, this one belongs to the Reds, and it was a big one.
Right on. This is the biggest one I've ever played in, Marty. We've come from behind. It looked like we're dead, but we never die. This is an unbelievable ball club, and I'm just so happy, man.
But I've never wanted to win anything so bad, and the way we won it, I think makes it even more exciting.
2 decades have passed since that '75 Fall Classic. These days, Rico Petrocelli is a hitting coach for the Red Sox AA club, the Trenton Thunder. Denny Doyle runs his own baseball instructional school in Winter Haven, Florida, while Bernie Carbo runs his own ministry. Bernie tours the country teaching kids about religion and also about baseball. In his words, the greatest game on earth. You have to venture all the way to Las Vegas to find executive credit host Gary Nolan. And another former Cincinnati hurler, Will McEnany, is still painting the corners. Pedro Borbon spends much of his time raising parrots. Well, many years have passed since that Super Series. All the players have gone their own way. The only thing that still unites them is an occasional phone call, an old-timers game, and the memory of what they accomplished. It was a series where some say both clubs were winners. But perhaps the biggest winner was the game of baseball itself.
Baseball then was kind of in the condition that it's in right now. And baseball attendance was declining. Football is becoming much more popular as the quote-unquote America's game. And basically what we did in that series, and that's probably what I'm most proud of, is that we put baseball back on the map. And ever since that time, baseball had just been climbing and climbing and climbing as far as popularity, attendance, going to games, coverage, media coverage. We put it back on the map, and I'm proud of that.
At that time, baseball was right about here, and football and basketball was catching up with baseball. Baseball didn't drop, and all of a sudden with that World Series, baseball took off again in popularity.
It got people right back involved in it. And like I say, I believe the long rain delays and all the other things, the Carlton Fisk home run, all different things, I think really did something for the game, because starting the next year, baseball started to just take off. And I do agree that that series was so important to the game.
It was a new beginning in baseball. That World Series lit a fire under baseball marketing, under individual marketing.
With so many good players being in that series, I think that's what really got people interested in it and wanted to watch from game 1 to game 7.
Every game there was somebody who was a hero. And that's what people enjoy most about the game. That's what America is.
The 1975 Fall Classic left in its wake an array of emotion that lingers on to this day for both teams.
To be a world champion and receive a World Series ring for the first time, a championship ring, not just a World Series ring, you want that championship, champion. And it's just a feeling that is very hard to describe, and it's a shame that everybody listening to you and I talk right now can't experience that.
The Red Sox hadn't won since 1918, so it was really important to us to go out there and win that series, and we came close again, the 7th game, but no diamond ring.
The thing that I thought about the most, the longest, was Tom Yawkey. And I felt worse for Tom Yawkey than anybody else, even my ball players.
One of the biggest things that series was remembered for is the home run with Carlton Fisk. But every time I see him jumping up and down on TV, I look at my left hand and I see the World Series ring on my hand, not on his hand.
What I remember most about the whole series is that we lost. Not all those plays, not some of the things that I did or my teammates did or the Reds did, was the simple fact that we lost.
It was ecstasy. That's the greatest single feeling that anybody can have, is being a world champion. And some guys may not have even got the field. They were introduced, but that was it. But didn't make it. They were jubilant. It's the greatest joy that I think of, that anybody can enjoy and experience. It's great to be a winner.
The series, of course, replayed everywhere in memory and conversation through the ensuing winter. And even now, its colors still light up the sky. In the middle of November that fall, a Boston friend of mine dropped into a tavern in Cambridge, in the working man's or non-Harvard end of Cambridge, and found a place at the bar. He told me later, there wasn't a sound in the place. And after I'd been there about 10 minutes, the old guy next to me put down his beer glass and sort of shook his head, whispered to himself, "We never should have taken out Willoughby."
Go.